The truth. When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up.
The blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Blackness. Never say die. Never say
You're listening and streaming A More Perfect Union right here on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in for the good Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, who is on assignment as we speak right now in the beautiful island nation state of Cuba. And I know you guys have been following and paying attention to what is happening over there to our brothers and sisters in Cuba. I mean, not that we don't have our own set of challenges right here domestic. I went to the gas station this morning with my wife, and I think the gas was close to $7 a gallon. That is a fraction of what others are having to pay in many other places in the nation. But if you're in a place like Cuba, there is no gas. There is nothing to pay, right? And so Dr. Nii-Quartelai is on the ground, and we will be hearing from him also this hour. Actor, choreographer, entrepreneur, Black man, Darren DeWitt Henson. He's going to be joining us, and he has a new book out. I don't want to tell too much about it, but you're definitely going to want to stick around to hear this conversation. We're gonna have some fun, man. We need a little bit of levity. Andy's back there holding it down for me. You made me feel real welcome today, Andy, and I am grateful and appreciative for the hospitality and breaking me in and breaking it in. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk with Brother Henson a little bit later on in the hour when we come forward. But as I said, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey this week, all week, is in Havana, Cuba, and he's going to be bringing us some updates while on this assignment with an emergency fact-finding delegation, and they're on the ground. We have a special report from our good brother, Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Dr. Nii-Quartelai?
Tavis, it's Dr. Nii-Quartelai here on assignment in transit to Cuba, along with Dr. Ron Daniels. He's the president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, IBW, and he's the convener of the Pan-African Dialogue. And he is the originator of this invitation to be a part of this U.S. delegation that is headed to Cuba on a fact-finding mission as Cuba is in a state of emergency. I'm joined with Dr. Daniels right now. Dr. Daniels, welcome.
Always good to be with you.
Always good to have you here. First things first, why now? Why this U.S. delegation to Cuba? Why now?
Well, I think because we're seeing an increase in the bellicosity and the erratic behavior on the part of the U.S. government. And our delegation is calculated to have a firsthand view of what's happening on the ground in the wake of the United States of America after 67 years intensifying its blockade by denying fuel to the Cuban people. And in so doing, it's intolerable suffering that people are experiencing. And they're also now threatening secondary sanctions against any nation that has the audacity to provide fuel and shipments of badly needed medical supplies into Cuba. And so our mission really is somewhat unique in that there have always been solidarity groups who have gone to Cuba, who work with Cuba and whatever. What we're attempting to do in this instance is to create a broader group of organizations, civil rights, human rights, faith organizations, labor leaders, business and professional, some of whom have never gone to Cuba, but are aware of the extraordinary contribution that Cuba has made to the Black world and to the world in general, as it has sent doctors and medical personnel throughout the world, and engaging and providing scholarships and benefits for doctors who from Black America have gone to get their degrees there and whatever. So there's a kind of debt we owe to Cuba. And of course, the liberation of South Africa is what would not have been as immediate had it not been for Cuban troops fighting in a decisive battle to win, to abolish apartheid and achieve victory there. So our mission, therefore, is designed to see, but also to return with a determination that we will create a systematic lane or unite with a systematic lane to provide humanitarian assistance. Secondly, we're going to be on the offensive, working with the Congressional Black Caucus and faith organizations and leaders to change the policy. And that policy is very simple: normalization of relations. Cuba's a sovereign nation. There's a sovereign people. If there are differences with Cuba, let them be settled in the way that President Obama outlined in his accord and his historic visit to Cuba some years ago. And that is through diplomacy and through a mutual understanding of how you resolve differences, not by threatening to invade and not through collective punishment.
Yeah. And I was in Cuba just days after President Obama made that historic visit to Cuba. The afterglow when he left, the hope was definitely in the air. In our remaining minutes with you, Dr. Daniels, who can we expect to see on this trip? You mentioned partnering with the Congressional Black Caucus. Are there any members of the CBC that will be on this trip? Here are just a few names that our audience might be familiar with that's going to be joining us.
Well, no, there'll be no representatives of the CBC per se going with us on this delegation. There was an effort on the part of Vincent Evans to go as the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus. But on short notice, getting ethics approval and all of that was a problem. However, we are in lockstep with Congressman Gregory Meeks, who is the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, as well as Jonathan Jackson, who has taken this on in the legacy of his father, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, who witnessed what was going on the ground and talked about it in a recent op-ed in the New York Times. In our delegation, we have represented a number of outstanding journalists like yourself, people like Herb Boyd, the legendary author, and with the New York Amsterdam News, the Washington Informer, Denise Rolock Barnes is going. And we have someone from the Final Call newspaper going as well. So we have a very, very strong group of journalists who are going with us. The National Association of Black Social Workers, psychologists are going. The constituency from Africa with Mel Foote, Dr. Julianne Malvo, leading political economist. We have Dr. Ife Williams, the former executive director of the National Congress of Black Women, representing Johnny Ford with the World Congress of Mayors. We have a representative from Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network. We have a representative from Rainbow Push. There's really never been a delegation with this configuration. So our goal is to broaden and deepen the commitment, and we anticipate returning. We're looking at doing something at the National Press Club. We would anticipate that there would be members of the Congressional Black Caucus that will join us, and we will be pushing forward with a major event, we hope, during Congressional Black Caucus weekend. And let me quickly say, I am so proud that the CARICOM nations, the nations of the Caribbean who just met, they're going to send an aid package. The nation of Spain has stepped forward and say, Mr. Trump, we don't think so. We're sending aid. And I hope that Africa will be next.
Well, we are going to be on the ground covering every minute of this. Again, the Trump administration has inflicted a lot of pain on the Cuban people and has created a lot of chaos to achieve regime change. We're going to have a firsthand look, and we're going to talk to real people, real everyday people, Afro-Cuban people, to follow the facts and understand what's really happening on the ground and what we can do in the spirit of solidarity across this nation and around the world. My thanks to Dr. Ron Daniels, the president of the Institute of Black World 21st Century and convener of the Pan-African Dialogue. He is leading this really special delegation. And Tavis, we will be reporting every day while we're on the ground for all of the leaders, learners, and listeners that are tapped into your show. And in the afternoon, I'll be reporting on my show, More Perfect Union, again. And so my thanks to you, Tavis. Back to you.
Well, not back to Tavis, and you got it right. You're back with James Farr. That's Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey in Havana, Cuba, kind of setting the framing, what you'll hear more from him over the weeks. When we come forward, how many people get a street named after them in their hometown? You know him from Soul Food, Stomp the Yard, actor, choreographer, author, finding your path. I'm looking forward to being in conversation with Darren DeWitt Henson when we come forward. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, we got your black.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-242-1551. That's 800-242-1551. 800-242-1551.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning
5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God.
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA. Yeah, man.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
That's right. You're listening and streaming A More Perfect Union. I am James Farr. I'm sitting in for the good doctor, Nii-Quartelai Quartey, who you just heard before we came forward, who's on assignment right now, live in Havana, Cuba, talking with our brothers and sisters, understanding what they are experiencing in this most troubling time. They are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis. But I'm not going to keep the energy at that level entire hour, because right now, sometimes you wake up and you don't know who you're going to talk to, and other times you wake up and you know exactly who to talk to. I had no idea today that would be the day that at first I wasn't sure, and then I saw that face. I said, I know that brother. I know exactly who he is. I know his body of work, and I am so excited to be in conversation with him. I told y'all before we came forward, now who has a street named after them, right? He's an author, he's a choreographer, and quiet as kept the reason why I low-key know some of the steps to NSYNC's Smash Hit Bye Bye. Brother Darren DeWitt Henson, brother, good afternoon. How are you?
Greetings. Good to be on with you, James.
Absolutely. Tell me about, we got to start there, man. I had a whole list of other questions and I came across this part. How does a street get named after you? Tell me about that story.
First of all, I'm still in awe of it all, to be very, very honest. It just happened last week. The Bronx Borough President, Vanessa, Again, I'm still in awe. I'm thankful. I'm grateful that it has happened. I was born and raised in the Bronx, and for it to be presented to me, there were people that were signing petitions to have my name put up on a street sign. People that I grew up with, other people that I had worked with. People that were involved in some form of politics that go on in New York City. And so it so happened that my name came up, and I was honored with a street name, and it was beautiful.
I wanted to let you land the Bronx part of it, right? And I teased it in a way that, perhaps they thought the brother had a street named after him in Mayberry, right? In small towns, one stoplight, Alabama, right? The Bronx is the Bronx, right?
Bronx is the Bronx, where I was born and raised and grew up in, and very, very proud of coming from. So much rich history in the Bronx and New York City within itself. So I'm very happy. My mother, my family members, my friends, high school people, junior high school people, and one very very specific person, Edison Aponte, who really leveraged his ability to communicate with others, helped me get there.
Let me dial it back a little bit, right? This kid in the Bronx, right? And we're chronologically around the same age, right? Yeah, you would be my big brother, but it's okay. But we're riding, we're 70s, 80s babies, right? I want to get back to, because I kid you not, and I'm gonna embarrass myself since we're in this space. I binged watched Different Strokes the other day, right? Don't judge me. It was on.
I get it. I do it all the time too. I watch it.
And so it was the year was 1984. Arnold was protesting breakdance. The principal didn't want to too much, and that's not their story. It's not. We're not here to talk about that. But I'm placing myself in that 11-year-old's mind, right?
Yeah.
I have an 11-year-old son. What did that 11-year-old boy? What was he dreaming of growing up in the streets of the Bronx and in community? Did he see himself landing on his own boulevard?
I can tell you what the 11-year-old was thinking because of the 5-year-old. The 5-year-old me knew what he wanted to do and who he wanted to be. At 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be an entertainer. At 5 years old, I knew that dance was going to be an expression that afforded me the opportunity to communicate with thousands of people. I just knew. Certain things in life, you just know. You can believe, but then you have to go beyond believing, take action, and know. So by the time I was 11 years of age, I was already moving in the trajectory of becoming the dancer, the choreographer that I ultimately became.
What was your family structure like? I mean, because it takes a lot, because we can love on each other real good in community, and we can also let boy, I don't know. What was that like?
Well, the great thing growing up in the Bronx was, even when you didn't have blood family, your friends were your family. Now, within my house, I had a very similar upbringing to a lot of young African-American men. Unfortunately, I grew up without a father in the home, but my mother gave us everything that we needed and pressed upon us how important education is and was. So we had a lot of books in the house. Actually, we had encyclopedias in the house when we were very, very young, and we utilized those. And we also had communication skills, manners, and we were prepped on how to use them in life.
So would you say that the reading, you sound like a voracious reader. Anybody that talks about those Britannica encyclopedias, my grandmother had the only set in the family, so that's where the book reports had to be done, and where the reading took place in there. I wasn't a nonfiction reader, or a fiction reader, I should say. I much more preferred nonfiction. But did the reading kind of help you prepare to kind of expand your mind to get ready for some of the characters you would later play?
Absolutely. Not so much the characters, but the ability to speak, the ability to have over and understanding, the ability to use words properly, the ability to understand the definitions of words and to be able to utilize them, which was a completely different world from the dance world. The dance world was just complete and total emotion, right? So I got to express some of the difficult things that I was going through. Growing up in the Bronx, in the home of hip hop, all of that was happening at that time. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the Cold Crush Brothers, the Rocksteady crew. Like, I grew up in the midst of all of that. So that was a form of communication. And then, of course, going to school, having the books that I had at home, consistently reading and utilizing those books to afford me the opportunity, once again, to dream outside of the box, as it were. And so, while I was dancing, performing, and in school, I was also dreaming of other places in the world that I wanted to go to. And speaking of Cuba, Cuba was one of the places that I really wanted to go to. I grew up with a Cuban family who taught me Spanish, and I was able to actually be on the land, talk, and walk on the ground in Cuba, which was, for me, very heartwarming and home welcoming, knowing the history that was and is there.
Yeah, you're talking about, that we hear triple threat, right? The acting, the dancing, and I'm not hearing the singing or rapping in there, but I guess at some point you spent some time as a part of a group in the early '80s. So you were just exploring all means of expression.
Oh, absolutely. That group was called Trilogy. And it was a very popular group. It was represented and produced by CNC Music Factory, which was a part, once again, of the early stages of me choreographing, because I worked with Trilogy and we were produced by CNC, who at that time was
they were big. I mean, they were huge
for everybody. And so one of the biggest jobs that I was blessed with was working with the New Kids on the Block, because I had worked with CNC Music Factory. So it was, all the steps were ordained and seemingly ordered already. And because my faith was strong, faith without actions is dead. So I applied myself, and the outcome ultimately was working with Prince, working with Michael Jackson, working with George Michael, Britney Spears, NSYNC, and ultimately winning the MTV Music Award. And the scholastic aspect of it and the reading associated to it helped me land on Broadway. You look like you're being pulled in a different direction right now. Somebody's pulling your focus.
No, we're good, brother. We are joined by Darren DeWitt Henson, and what was happening was I had to refresh something, right? Because you're going exactly where I wanted to go in our upcoming segments, because in your book you write about finding your path, the climb the ladder up and through, right? And so you're laying kind of these paving stones for us, and I'm like, boy, this brother is getting so far ahead of me. I need him to slow down a little bit. But you're setting up that foundation of how you got to where you are, and I want to talk more about the book, really get into you and understand what advice you may have for other young people that are listening. Dr. Nii-Quartelai has his listeners, leaders, and learners. So we want to kind of inform them on how they become the next you, or actually the best version of themselves, perhaps using with you. Stay with us. Darren DeWitt Henson, my guest, only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A federal court could decide this week which congressional map Alabama will use going forward. County election officials have until May 27th to begin moving voters into new districts. State lawmakers want to keep the 2023 map, while the NAACP and other voting rights groups are pushing for the court-drawn map adopted in 2024. Maryland's Black Governor Wes Moore has signed hundreds of bills into law, including the Youth Charging Reform Act. Supporters say it will focus more on rehabilitation, while some prosecutors and sheriffs argue it could strain the juvenile system and raise public safety concerns. And Milwaukee political and community leader Lucille Berrien has died at 98. Bond Communications says she passed away Friday, surrounded by family. Berrien made history in 1972 as the first Black woman to run for mayor of Milwaukee. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A lot of people are calling it the best playoff run in NBA history. You can make a good case for the New York Knicks after they swept Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks have won 11 straight playoff games and have suddenly become a potential favorite to win the NBA championship. Knicks fans in Los Angeles are rejoicing over their team making it to the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. The Knicks will have plenty of time to rest and prepare for the finals, which tip off June 3rd. The Western Conference Finals will go at least 6 games. San Antonio and Oklahoma City are tied at 2-2. Game 5 is tonight in OKC. Congratulations to the baseball team at HBCU Alabama State. Alabama State won the SWAC Conference title Monday with an 8-6 win over Florida A&M. The victory gives Alabama State an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected, stay informed, stay loud.
Stand up.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Faye Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me! National News, The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right. You're listening and streaming A More Perfect Union. I'm James Farr. I am sitting in for Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, who is away in Havana, Cuba, and will be bringing us updates all week long on his sojourn and his witness and observation of our brothers and sisters in Cuba. and this crisis that they are facing. But right now, I am pleased to be joined and be in conversation with this good brother, Darren DeWitt Henson, and certainly an accomplished actor, choreographer, producer, writer. And I don't know if I'm missing any of those bona fides, right? But my producer, Andy, our board operator, Andy's in there. He said he had a question for you, right? Your top 5 choreographers. He said he's familiar with your work, but he wants to know who you are inspired by, or perhaps who are those choreographers that just kind of hit it for you.
For me, I'd start off with the Nicholas brothers.
Okay.
Definitely start off with the Nicholas brothers. Michael Peters, of course, we know Michael Peters, who created Beat It for Michael Jackson. Lester Wilson, of course. Adolfo Quinones, who we know as Shabba-Doo from the Breaking. Alvin Ailey, Debbie Allen, right? So it's really a plethora. It's a mixture. It's a very diverse playing field for me when it comes to choreography, because I was inspired by so many different styles. Frank Hatchett in New York City, Gregory Hines, the Hoofer. All of these people completely and totally inspired me. And so I the love of dance is still very strong in me.
That's interesting, because you certainly grabbed and pulled from some legacy branches, right? It's many of the names that you mentioned, are certainly household names in Black community. Many of them, right? Not all, but certainly we know the Debbie and the Nicholas brothers. But I didn't hear anybody contemporary. Now I don't know if is that a generational thing, or these young cats ain't hitting it and doing it for you. I don't want to get you in trouble now.
No, I speak from my hip. Dance is associated to music. Music has changed, and I think that a lot of the soul that we had in music is no longer there. When we used to listen to Michael, when we listened to Prince, right? When you listen to James Brown, there was a soul in that music that is not present today. And so I think that the dance reflects that. The dance that I see today is very robotic. And what I mean by robotic is there's very little breathing happening within the dance. When we saw performances before, there was life being breathed into the movement. Today, it's, how many beats can you hit at one time? And so I'm not, although, there's some creatives that I see that I enjoy. Reflections is a great company that I enjoy, but a lot of the contemporary stuff, it doesn't really excite me anymore.
Well, currently you are starring on a mini series on Roku, Surviving Sasha, and like I said, you're
that actually is really, really old.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really old. I'll update you right now.
Please.
I'm currently on the hit television series, The Family Business. We're going into our 7th season. Prior to that, I was on a television series called Double Cross, which has gone from its original platform on All Black, which is a division of AMC, to now it's in its 7th year, now running on Tubi. But The Family Business, that hit show, which started on BET Plus, is now on BET and will now be on Paramount Plus. And again, we're going into the 7th season of that show. So I'm very happy, and I love and appreciate all the fans. I play Orlando Duncan on that show. Is written and created by Carl Weber. And we have, of course, the patriarch, Ernie Hudson. We have Valerie on the show as our matriarch. Valerie Pettiford. And so, I work with Michael Jai White, Tammy Roman, Sean Ringo, Javicia Leslie. We have some great actors on the show, and it's produced by Tri Destin and directed by Trey Haley, and produced by Andy Brown. So we've got a great family in the family business. And again, we're going into our 7th year.
Seventh season, and that is a major accomplishment, brother, because
Yes.
you think of so many shows that come and go, and to get into, so is that 20 episodes per season, 15? How many are in the can?
Well, we originally started off with 12. We're doing 10 a season now. We're doing 10. Unlike the days of Soul Food, where we would do 22 episodes.
22 a season, right?
That was a very long-running show as well. In my very first series and first Black dramatic, all-Black television series, Soul Food. And so, coming off of that and still being strong and vibrant on the family business now, I'm just I'm growing and glowing.
You certainly had a notable and accomplished career, and you have credits, right? I mean, right now, and we claim in the continuance of it, right? You by definition would be considered a working actor, right? You are actually in the business, working and credits, and as I said, accomplishments, award, and across different disciplines. Right now, there's a lot of, they're calling them verticals, so for us lay people out there who spend most of our time, the folks in radio, y'all can't see this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see me hold this up. You spend your time on a phone, right? And so that's where I'm listening, watching news, watching content.
I think
vertical thing?
I think content is king. And when I say that, what I mean is, we have our televisions in our hands now. And so the verticals, of course, as we know, horizontal is this way, vertical is this way. And so now a lot of content is being created in 1 minute or 90-second segments. So with the verticals, they are, you take a movie and you cut it up into 1 minute or 90-second segments. So those are verticals. I don't, it works in other communities, the Asian community, the Caucasian community. I don't know if the African-American community is going to buy into it. We like to watch shows, and we like to watch shows on television or in the movie theater. So I don't know if we would watch our shows on our phones in 1 minute segment when we can actually watch a whole show in 90 minutes, right? So different communities like it for different reasons. As we all know, our attention span has shortened.
Sure.
And I think this is how verticals were born, but I don't know if our community will accept them.
I mean, I think about when you were on Soul Food, right, and the series, and we were certainly much more in a monoculture and not that on demand like we have now, where I had the ability to be distracted. So when I got invested in you on Soul Food and the series, I was invested, right? Like I had to sit down and be with it and just really absorb it in the time that it is available. Do you find yourself, do you think of yourself as a celebrity? I mean, how do you deal with those moments, when someone says, "Hey, brother, that's you"?
I accept my relationship with the fans. I accept that I am an artist, and I accept that I am a recognizable face and voice in the communities. I don't walk around, I still take out my garbage. I wash my own clothes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, that whole idea or concept of celebrity, I just, I'm far from that. And I don't think in that frame of mind at all. And I really care about the work. I care about what we're producing and what we're showing on our screens. And so, for me, it's more about being thoughtful and being mindful of the responsibility of what I'm sending out, because art imitates life and life imitates art. But do I love my fans? Absolutely. Do I look forward to meeting and greeting people? Yes, all the time. I love it so much. I love the interaction, with our people. I love it.
Was it a gradual acceptance? I mean, I don't know that we ask our celebrities the vulnerability of this question. Like, how did you get comfortable with that moment? Because I wouldn't want nobody walking up to me on the street and just kind of. I know that's the price you pay if there is such a thing, right? Or an exchange that you have. But how's that work for you?
It's changed over the years. I used to love being around hundreds, possibly even thousands of people. I loved crowds, and not so much anymore. I find, it's difficult for me to be in really big crowds now. Number one, because of, there's no more anonymity for me anymore. People know my face. They know my name. They know my voice. I've had people walk up to me, when I've had masks on my face, when they heard me, speak, they go, I know who you are, the
Well, see, brother,
of it all, right?
You certainly have the looks for the camera. Folks like me, only have a voice for radio, and so I never surprise people by sight. It's only like you may say we're at somewhere ordering something. My guest right now is Darren DeWitt Henson, actor extraordinaire, choreographer, accomplished award-winning author, and we could spend the next and remaining time just running down credentials, credits, and accomplishments. And he's taken some time to share with our leaders, listeners, and learners what he's working on. Has a book that's out. We'll talk a little bit more about that. He's kind of laid that foundation out for us, kind of on that path, and I appreciate those paving stones, and I've been trying not to trip over myself as I kind of get a little bit of fanboy and say, like, I really enjoy your work and I want to share that with you, and I appreciate the way you show up on screen and represent for brothers in the community. We'll continue this conversation when we come forward. Darren DeWitt Henson's my guest, James Farr, in for Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Stay with us only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026. Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhoods safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by Re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California, 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to #1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction,
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right. You are listening and streaming A More Perfect Union right here on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in for Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, who is on assignment right now in Havana, Cuba, with an emergency fact-finding delegation. He is reporting live every day this week on his program, as well as Tavis Smiley's show every day this week. And you definitely are going to want to check in to find out what is happening with our brothers and sisters in Cuba as we kind of look at it through the Afro-Cuban lens. Right now, I am in conversation with actor, choreographer, producer, author, brother, and Bronx native who just happens to have a street named after him. You know him from many television shows. He's on the on Family Business. He's been on Soul Food, and y'all Google it and look it up. His name is Darren DeWitt Henson. And Brother Henson, in our final few minutes that we have, I thank you for indulging me and allowing me to be a little bit curious and somewhat awkward and goofy. But really just wanting to understand this book that you wrote, right? Like, what was the reason why? I mean, you've tackled many different mediums. How did you end up deciding, I want to write a book and I want to share this part of my art and vulnerability with the world?
Well, this is my fifth book, and it's called Finding Your Path, and the other books were called Intimate Thoughts and the Spirit of Change, and then you had Ain't That the Truth, and then after that you had Pregnant with Thought, and then Life's Teachable Moments, and now Finding Your Path. And the reason that I wrote that is because there are a lot of people that talk about finding their purpose. I want to know what my purpose is. And, you know, sitting down and really thinking about that and moving that around in my head and just feeling what that represents and what it means, I find that most people in society now, they aren't passionate about something that has to do with them. They're passionate about things outside of them, but not what's inside of them. And I find when you can be passionate about something that you love, something that you care about, something that's unfolding in you, something that's making you unapologetically progressive, right? It allows you to go on your path, right? So when you become passionate, your passion will set you forward on your path, and your path will lead you to your purpose. So they're all connected: passion, path, and purpose. So this book is called Finding Your Path. But in order to find your path, you have to know what you're passionate about. And I wanted to be able to create a conversation with the readers and for those people who desire to become more of who they really are and give them something. So if I may, this book that I have here is called Life's Teachable Moments. And this book is about paying attention to what has happened in your life. This book, Ain't That the Truth, is a book of positive affirmations, daily positive affirmations. So I am in the business, if it were, to asking ourselves better questions, because I believe our life is made up of questions that we ask. So if that is true, then our job is to ask better questions.
Brother, that's deep. What's coming up for me is finding my inner path finder, right? Like to take all of what you're saying, that passion, and become that pathfinder for yourself, right? Follow those paving stones, and you've seem to have done that in a collection of books, and I think that is that's the Lord's work, and I appreciate you putting that down. How can people? We only got a few more. I'm less than a minute, but how can people reach you? Where can they get the book? Tell us more. And how they can follow you on socials and all that good housekeeping stuff.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, James, for having me on tonight. I appreciate you and I love you, brother. Thank you. Please come to me. Come to my website, thedarrenhenson.com, thedarrenhenson.com. And on Instagram, if you want to watch some photos or videos, you can find me on Instagram at I am Darren D. Henson. But everybody comes and communicates with me through my website, thedarrenhenson.com, and come and pick up the new book, Finding Your Path. You'll be glad that you did.
That is the voice of Darren DeWitt Henson. And brother, like I said, something was happening in the universe today, because I had what I considered a struggle lunch today. I had a Snicker, a bag of chips, and some peanuts, right? And it was what I ate 30 years ago when I was on that path, right? When I had that passion.
Yeah, you can't keep doing that, James. You can't. You got to put some life in your body.
I was honoring the struggle, brother. That's all. It was introspective, inflective, right? I was remembering. Hey, man, brother, thank you so much. We gotta land it right there. You're listening and streaming a More Perfect Union. I'm James Farr in for Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Jill Monroe is up next. Stay with us on KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.